Have you ever heard of a prophet who never tasted death but was taken up to heaven in a chariot of fire? In Elijah, the prophet who defied death and ascended to heaven in a chariot of fire, we'll explore the life and miraculous departure of Elijah, one of the most extraordinary figures in the Bible. His story is filled with powerful encounters with God, acts of faith, and a mysterious ascension that continues to inspire believers. In this video, we'll uncover the remarkable events that marked Elijah's journey, from his fearless confrontations with kings to the moment he was taken up to heaven, a spectacle that defies human understanding. You'll gain insights into the purpose of Elijah's life, the significance of his ascent, and how his story can strengthen your faith, offering lessons on trust, obedience, and divine power. Are you ready to witness the story of a man who walked so closely with God that he bypassed death itself? Want to discover how Elijah's life can inspire you to deepen your own relationship with God? Join us as we delve into the miraculous story of Elijah and uncover timeless truths that can enrich your spiritual journey. Let's get started. Elijah was one of the most significant prophets in Israel's history and a devoted servant of God. His life was dedicated to calling the people of Israel back to faithfulness and obedience to God. He was chosen to deliver messages of warning and hope, often confronting powerful rulers who had turned away from God's ways. Elijah's role was to remind the people of Israel about the one true God and to stand firm against idolatry, even in the face of danger. Through his courage and faith, he became known as a powerful and fearless prophet. The time Elijah lived in was marked by great spiritual decline. Israel was ruled by King Ahab and his wife, Queen Jezebel, who introduced the worship of Baal, a false god. Jezebel, in particular, was known for her devotion to Baal and her hostility toward the prophets of God. She influenced Ahab to lead the nation in idol worship, turning the hearts of the people away from God. This period of Israel's history was filled with corruption and idolatry, and Elijah was called to confront it directly, risking his life to challenge the rulers and bring the people back to the Lord. One of Elijah's first miracles was during a severe drought, which he had warned King Ahab about as a punishment from God for Israel's disobedience. During this time, God directed Elijah to a widow's home in Zarephath. The widow had very little food left, but Elijah promised her that her supply of flour and oil would not run out as long as she helped him. Miraculously, her supplies lasted throughout the drought, providing enough food for her, her son, and Elijah. This miracle showed God's power and care for those who trusted in him, even in difficult times. Elijah performed another incredible miracle while staying with the widow. Her son fell ill and died, leaving her heartbroken. But Elijah prayed to God and stretched himself over the boy's body, asking for his life to be restored. In a miraculous answer to Elijah's prayer, God brought the boy back to life. This event demonstrated God's power over life and death and strengthened the faith of those who witnessed it. It was a powerful reminder that God was with Elijah, guiding and empowering him in his mission. Through these early miracles, Elijah showed that God was real, powerful, and compassionate. Each miracle was a sign to Israel that God had not abandoned them and was still willing to protect and provide for those who turned back to him. Elijah's life was a testament to the power of faith and obedience, as he trusted in God to work miracles through him to reveal his presence to Israel. Elijah's story begins with him as a bold and courageous prophet, called to confront the sin and idolatry that had taken over Israel. His actions set the stage for the many powerful events and miracles that would follow, establishing him as one of the most impactful figures in the Old Testament. Elijah's faith and commitment to God would soon lead him into more intense confrontations and incredible miracles, all aimed at restoring Israel's faith in the Lord. The confrontation on Mount Carmel is one of the most dramatic moments in the life of Elijah and in the history of Israel. Elijah challenged the prophets of Baal, calling the people of Israel to witness the power of the true God. At a time when many Israelites were worshipping Baal under the influence of King Ahab and Queen Jezebel, Elijah wanted to show them the difference between God and these false gods. On Mount Carmel, he boldly declared to the people, "How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him." This challenge set the stage for a powerful showdown. Elijah proposed a test to reveal the true God. He and the prophets of Baal would each prepare a sacrifice, but neither group would light the fire. Instead, they would call upon their gods, and the one who answered with fire would be acknowledged as the true God. The prophets of Baal called on their God from morning until noon, shouting and dancing around their altar, but no fire came. Elijah even mocked them, suggesting that perhaps Baal was asleep or too busy to answer. Despite their desperate attempts, Baal remained silent. When it was Elijah's turn, he prepared his altar carefully. He arranged the wood, placed the sacrifice on it, and even poured water over everything to make it impossible for a natural fire to catch. Then Elijah prayed to God, asking him to show Israel that he was the true God. In response, God sent down a powerful fire from heaven that consumed not only the sacrifice but also the wood, stones, and even the water around the altar. This miraculous fire left no doubt that God had answered Elijah's prayer and that he alone was the true God of Israel. The miracle of fire from heaven had a profound impact on the people of Israel. They had witnessed firsthand that Baal was powerless, while God answered with overwhelming power. The people fell to the ground and cried out, "The Lord, He is God! The Lord, He is God!" This event was a turning point, as many Israelites recognized the authority and reality of God in a way they could not ignore. The miraculous fire restored faith in the hearts of many, reminding them of God's presence and power. After the fire fell, Elijah ordered the people to seize the prophets of Baal, and they were put to death. This act marked the end of Baal worship, at least temporarily, and demonstrated that God would not tolerate idolatry among his people. Elijah's victory on Mount Carmel was a declaration of God's holiness and his desire for Israel to return to him. It showed that God would defend his name and his people when they turned back to him in faith. The confrontation on Mount Carmel remains a powerful example of faith and courage. Elijah stood alone against hundreds, yet he trusted that God would reveal his power. This event continues to inspire believers to choose God above all else, knowing that he is faithful and powerful. Elijah's faith and God's response remind us that God's authority is unmatched and that he is always ready to show himself to those who seek him with a sincere heart. Elijah's final journey was one filled with purpose and anticipation, as he knew his time on earth was coming to an end. God had revealed to him that he would soon be taken up, and so he set out on a last journey through important locations with his disciple Elisha by his side. Elijah traveled from Gilgal to Bethel, then to Jericho, and finally to the Jordan River. At each stop, he urged Elisha to stay behind, but Elisha insisted on accompanying him. Elisha's loyalty and determination to stay with his mentor until the very end showed his dedication and love for Elijah and the mission they shared. Elisha was not only a disciple but also Elijah's chosen successor. Their relationship was special, as Elisha had been handpicked by Elijah, under God's direction, to carry on his prophetic ministry. Before Elijah was taken up, Elisha made a significant request. He asked for a double portion of Elijah's spirit. This request wasn't about gaining twice the power, but rather receiving the spiritual strength needed to continue Elijah's mission. Elisha wanted to inherit the authority and spiritual gifts of Elijah to serve God with the same fervor and faithfulness. Elijah responded by saying that Elisha had asked a difficult thing, but that it would be granted if Elisha witnessed his ascension into heaven. This statement was more than a condition. It was a test of Elisha's commitment and loyalty. Elisha would need to stay closely by Elijah's side, watching every step and demonstrating his devotion until the very end. This moment tested Elisha's dedication to his calling, as he would have to witness the incredible event that was about to unfold to receive what he had requested. Elisha's journey with Elijah was marked by various challenges and temptations to turn back, yet he persisted. This dedication showed he was ready to lead Israel spiritually and carry the weight of being God's prophet. Elijah's journey with Elisha served as a way of preparing him for what was to come, passing down not only the mantle but also the wisdom, strength, and courage needed for the role. When they finally arrived at the Jordan River, Elijah performed one last miracle. He took off his cloak, struck the water, and the river parted, allowing them both to cross on dry ground. This miracle was a final display of God's power through Elijah and a symbolic gesture of Elijah's authority being passed on to Elisha. It showed that Elisha would walk in the same authority and anointing, leading Israel with God's guidance. The relationship between Elijah and Elisha was more than teacher and student. It was a spiritual bond of mentorship and preparation. Elisha's loyalty and desire to continue Elijah's mission speak volumes about his dedication to God's calling. This journey not only confirmed Elisha's readiness but also allowed Elijah to leave knowing that his work would be faithfully carried on. Their story serves as a powerful example of mentorship, faith, and the passing of spiritual leadership in God's kingdom. The miracle at the Jordan River marked the final, awe-inspiring moment of Elijah's earthly journey. As Elijah and Elisha reached the banks of the Jordan, Elijah took off his cloak, rolled it up, and struck the waters. Miraculously, the river parted, allowing them to walk across on dry ground. This miracle echoed the parting of the Red Sea and reminded both men of God's incredible power. It also symbolized the crossing from Elijah's ministry to the new chapter that awaited Elisha. This act of divine power set the stage for the incredible event that would soon take place. Once they crossed the Jordan, something astonishing happened. A chariot of fire, drawn by horses of fire, suddenly appeared between Elijah and Elisha. Before Elisha could react, Elijah was taken up in a whirlwind, ascending to heaven in the fiery chariot. This vision was a spectacular and rare event, one that no other prophet or follower of God had experienced. Only Elisha witnessed this incredible moment, and he cried out, recognizing Elijah's departure as a unique honor from God. Elijah didn't die a natural death. He was taken directly into God's presence in a way that showed divine approval. The scene of Elijah's ascension is filled with spiritual symbolism and significance. Being taken up in a chariot of fire represented the closeness Elijah had with God. The fiery chariot wasn't just a means of transportation. It symbolized God's holy presence and power. Fire in the Bible often represents God's presence, and here it illustrated that Elijah was welcomed into heaven in a manner fitting a servant deeply connected to God. This extraordinary departure from earth was God's way of honoring Elijah's faithfulness and dedication. Elijah's ascension is unique among the prophets, highlighting the special place he held in God's plan. Most prophets passed away, leaving a legacy through their words and actions. But Elijah's ascension set him apart, signifying that his relationship with God was exceptionally close. Elijah had served God through many challenges and was now being received into heaven without experiencing death. This event marked him as one of the most honored prophets, one who truly walked with God and was taken up to be with him. Elisha, standing on the earth and watching Elijah's departure, was left in awe. Elijah's cloak fell as he ascended, a physical symbol that his prophetic mission had now been passed to Elisha. Picking up the cloak, Elisha understood that he was now called to continue Elijah's work with the same faith and courage. The moment was bittersweet. Elisha had lost his mentor but had gained a powerful calling and the spirit of Elijah to guide him. The story of Elijah's ascension is not just about a miraculous event. It's a testament to a life fully dedicated to God. It reminds us of the honor and reward that God gives to those who serve Him faithfully. Elijah's life and ascension continue to inspire believers to walk closely with God, knowing that He values and honors those who live with unwavering faith. Elijah's impact on the history of Israel is undeniable. He is remembered as a powerful prophet who stood for God's truth, even when it meant facing kings, queens, and entire nations. Elijah's willingness to confront Ahab and Jezebel, and his boldness on Mount Carmel, made him a legendary figure among the prophets. Through his life and ministry, Elijah called Israel back to God, reminding the people that they must serve the one true God alone. His dedication and courage left an imprint on Israel's spiritual journey and inspired generations to stay faithful. One of the most fascinating aspects of Elijah's legacy is the prophecy about his return. In the book of Malachi, it's written that Elijah would come again before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. This prophecy has been the subject of much interpretation and anticipation. Many Jews believed Elijah would physically return to prepare the way for the Messiah. In the New Testament, Jesus himself linked this prophecy to John the Baptist, explaining that John came in the spirit and power of Elijah, fulfilling Malachi's words. John's ministry was similar to Elijah's, calling people to repentance and preparing them for the coming of Jesus. Elijah stands as a symbol of unwavering faith and courage. Despite facing overwhelming odds, he never backed down from proclaiming God's truth. His life story is a reminder that true faith often requires boldness and a willingness to stand alone for what is right. Elijah's courage in the face of danger and his trust in God's power serve as an example for believers even today. He teaches us that when we place our faith in God, we can overcome any obstacle, no matter how intimidating. To this day, Elijah holds a special place in Jewish and Christian traditions. In Jewish Passover celebrations, a cup of wine is often set aside for Elijah, symbolizing the hope of his return. For Christians, Elijah's life and the prophecy about him serve as reminders of God's plan to bring redemption. His legacy is not just about the past. It's a continual call to faithfulness and anticipation of God's promises. Elijah's story also reminds us of the power of one person fully committed to God. Through his obedience and faith, he changed the spiritual direction of an entire nation. His legacy encourages believers to make a difference in their communities by living with integrity, even when it's difficult. Elijah's life shows that God can work powerfully through anyone who is willing to follow him completely. In conclusion, Elijah's legacy goes beyond the miracles and the ascension. He represents the strength of a life dedicated to God and the hope of God's promises for the future. His story continues to inspire believers to live courageously, to stand for truth, and to prepare their hearts for what God has planned. Elijah's life and the prophecy of his return serve as powerful reminders of faith, courage, and God's eternal plan for his people. In this video, we've explored the incredible life of Elijah, the powerful miracles he performed, his unwavering dedication to God, and his unique departure from earth in a chariot of fire. From his confrontations with kings to his miracles that demonstrated God's presence, Elijah's story is one filled with moments that reveal God's power and faithfulness. His journey, his mentorship of Elisha, and his miraculous ascension all point to a life that was fully committed to God's mission. Elijah's life is a testament to the importance of staying faithful to God, even in the face of immense challenges. Through his obedience, Elijah showed that one person's faith can have a transformative impact on an entire nation. His story reminds us that when we stand firm in our beliefs and trust God, He can use us in ways we may never have imagined. Elijah's faith and courage continue to inspire believers to live boldly and to be unafraid of standing up for what is right. The message of Elijah's life also shows us that God is always near to those who follow Him. Whether through moments of doubt, confrontation, or victory, God was with Elijah, guiding and empowering him every step of the way. Elijah's faithfulness reminds us that God is faithful to His promises, and that He can work wonders through those who trust in Him. His story encourages us to hold on to our faith, knowing that God is present in our lives. As we reflect on Elijah's life, let's remember the lessons he left behind: the courage to stand up for truth, the power of trusting in God's timing, and the importance of leaving a legacy of faith for others. His story challenges us to deepen our relationship with God and to trust that He can use us, just as He used Elijah. Elijah's life is a powerful reminder that God is always at work, even in the most challenging times. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Elijah. If this story inspired you, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and feel free to leave a comment sharing your thoughts on Elijah's story. What part of his life impacted you the most? How does his story inspire you today? Your support means a lot to us, and we look forward to hearing your insights and reflections on this incredible prophet's life. Until next time, may Elijah's legacy encourage you to live with courage, faith, and dedication to God's purpose. See you in the next video.